What are your thoughts on the release and the lack of outrage, it seems, from some of our government officials?
This is a sham. We knew this 6 years ago, 5 years ago, and even a few years ago when the tape was released, and then Jason Van Dyke, through immense pressure, only by the organizers, quite frankly, that Jason Van Dyke was charged and convicted of murder, second-degree murder, and then the aggravated battery counts, that 81 months was a slap in the face. We are talking about a place here in the city of Chicago where we have some of the strictest gun laws in the nation. This is for him to be getting out halfway through this 81-month sentence is unheard of as a violent offender here. And so we're seeing the double standard between people who are in prison right now for nonviolent offenses, that's the majority of folks, and they are Black and brown, versus somebody who shot a child 16 times and then covered it up for 400 days.
Right.
And so this is a sham. It's an embarrassment. It's a miscarriage of justice, but also it just shows that it's not through the lack of procedure or protocol to push for justice that he remain in jail. It's through a lack of political courage and will by those who are representing our communities, and quite frankly, the federal government, which includes President Biden and Attorney General Merrick Garland and the Department of Justice, who could bring federal civil rights charges against Jason Van Dyke.
Right. And it seems as if, everybody's very tight-lipped, even when asking, when this case first went to trial, he was tried and convicted. They asked the then U.S. attorney, are you going to press federal charges? And they said, no, we'll wait for the state prosecution to wrap up and then we'll revisit it. And everybody's gone silent. And it's that same quote that's being reiterated even now as the question is being asked, are you going to pursue a federal indictment against Van Dyke? What do you think what is the holdup or the lack of response coming from? Why isn't this kind of a no-brainer?
Well, number one, America has to ask the question of itself, why does it require a viral consumption of Black suffering and outrage in order to get any level of accountability? Because justice is impossible at this point, because not only did you cover up the murder of a child here in the state of Illinois and in the city of Chicago, but we can't have justice for Laquan, because the only just outcome would be if he was alive and breathing. That is the only just outcome. Secondly, I want people to follow the money, because before this Jason Van Dyke trial, this situation happened with retrying Jason Van Dyke. Rahm Emanuel a few months ago was being appointed by President Biden's administration for the ambassadorship of Japan. We called on the Black Caucus in our city council. We called on the Black Caucus in the Illinois state legislature. We called on the Black Caucus on the federal level to condemn this nomination. And they all stood with Rahm Emanuel. But what do we know about Rahm Emanuel? Rahm Emanuel is one of the top Democratic fundraisers in the party. And a lot of the people who stood behind him, particularly here in the city of Chicago, have received donations from Rahm Emanuel. That's number one. The second thing is that they've received campaign donations from the FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police. And so, it's why we have taken the principled stance in my congressional campaign that we will not accept campaign donations from corporations, corporate PACs, and people who are tied to corporations, quite frankly. And I will not take money from the FOP, who has a very racist agenda, quite frankly. And so, I'm not surprised, because this is somebody who has funneled campaign donations into a lot of elected officials, especially here in the city of Chicago's campaign coffers. And my heart breaks for the grandmother, the auntie, the cousins of Laquan McDonald, who have had to live through this travesty, have been told that we live in a society of justice, and then have not had any accountability for his death.
And now, as we head into his release date, there is a number of things that activists are calling on, boycotts, they're calling on a day of action. What are some of the things that should be happening now in anticipation of his release?
First, I want to just start off by saying that I want to remind people that this man is getting out potentially in the beginning of Black History Month. And that is a slap in our face. Yeah. It was a slap in our face that Rahm Emanuel's ambassadorship Senate hearing happened on the anniversary, the 7th-year anniversary of Laquan's murder. This is a very painful time for myself and a lot of my other co-organizers who were out there, participating and holding our criminal justice system and our government accountable 5-6 years ago when the tape was released. Yeah. What I want to remind people is that we were rooted in a Dr. King approach of nonviolence, and we practice those principles. This tape was released after Ferguson, after Baltimore with the Freddie Gray case, after, Eric Gardner. And we still, remain peaceful, even seeing all those uprisings happening in those cities. And so I'm very proud of the Black and brown youth in this city who took that Dr. King approach of nonviolence. Yeah. We are calling on, nonviolent, peaceful protests and civil disobedience to what is happening here in the city of Chicago. We do not want to see our neighborhoods tore up. We do not, want to see young people being beaten by the Chicago police and gunned down. So I like to just, because you prefaced that, Danielle, I like to remind people that we were never the problem. Right. Even though everybody was in righteous rage. And so let's talk about what we should be doing. Everybody should be calling U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth and U.S. Senator Dick Durbin and calling on them to ask U.S. Attorney John Larch Jr. of the Northern District to bring federal civil rights charges against Jason Van Dyke, push for the U.S. Department, the Department of Justice to bring federal charges against Jason Van Dyke. And they need to be calling on their state legislatures, your state rep, your state senator, your city council person to make a public stance and a public statement and a commitment to push for these federal charges to be brought on Jason Van Dyke. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we will be holding a rally on Federal Plaza on February 3rd, which is the date that is supposedly set for Jason Van Dyke to come out at 5 p.m. With Rainbow Push Coalition and other partners to come down and just hold a place where people can, grieve, where they can be outraged, just like we are in this miscarriage of justice. And then finally, just moving forward, we should be calling on folks to stay diligent, not just for the case of Laquan McDonald, but what's happening all across this country and where our people are being murdered in a lot of these cities. Right. We should be calling on the Democratic majority that we have in the House and the Senate and the White House to pass the George Floyd Policing Act, to end qualified immunity, to pass the Breathing Act, things that we voted them in office to do. And so, that is where my outrage is that you called on us for the votes. We delivered. We elected you to be a representative democracy for us. And now these issues are too Black for people to deal with. And so it's the reason why I'm running. I think that we need a real voice around this issue, and everybody in the Illinois delegation, from our Congress people to our senators, should be raising hell about what is happening around, once again, the cover up of the murder of Laquan McDonald.